What's up, everybody? Welcome to Move the Sticks. DJ Buck back with you, Buck. We are marching towards week one of the college season. After a fun couple games there on week 0, we've got the NFL just a little more than a week away right now. But, man, it's right here, man. It's such a long off season, but I'm so glad we've made it this far here.
I'm really glad that we made it. Like, DJ, this is kind of the time that you look forward to. The beginning of the season, everyone believes they still have a chance. All of the work that you've seen done over the course of the offseason and training camp, teams being made, we get a chance to kind of look at like how teams are really built versus how we kind of philosophize about how teams should be built and which teams to do it. And then the college football game just brings a completely different thing because we talk about prospects while also having our own personal fandom with the college game. I don't know if there's a better time when it comes to football than right now where we're at the end of August.
Yeah, no, I'm fired up. Super excited about this thing to get it going. Today's episode, it's going to be a little bit of a mini pod, but we are going to do a wide receiver pod. So we're going to talk about a contract that got done, one that's still yet to get done, as well as we're going to play who would you rather have here between two wideouts, and I'm going to go down the list. We're going to hit you rapid fire with guys and see who you like to have a better year this coming year. That'll be a fun conversation. Let's start first of all here. CeeDee Lamb gets done. I don't think this surprises anybody. We kind of felt like this was inevitable. 4 years, $136 million. Makes him the second highest paid non-QB in NFL history. $38 million signing bonus, largest ever to a wideout. Also receives $100 million guaranteed. So he's 34 per. Jefferson is at 35 per. So he comes in right behind him, but a big number again, showing that wide receivers are valued a little differently than running backs in the National Football League.
You know, DJ, what's crazy about that is, we just seen it. Like since we've been in the league, just the shift in terms of how people view the playmakers. It has always been perceived to be a bit of a passing league because even when we were starting in the 2000s in terms of team building, it was about the quarterback, the left tackle, and those things, but it still was a little more run-centric in terms of who we paid. There was that draft where, what was it, like all those running backs that went off the board, Ronnie Brown and Cadillac Williams and those guys, Cedric Benson. But now to see it where wide receivers, it's about the quarterback, the wide receivers, and the left tackle or the pass protectors. I never would have thought that people would pay that much for a wide receiver. And it's happening at a time when the college game is producing more instant star wide receivers than we've ever seen. I just think we're about to hit a crossroads when it comes to the position, but it's no doubt that it's a marquee position when it comes to the team building landscape.
Man, when you look at CeeDee Lamb, go back to when he came out, Buck, he was my top receiver in that class. I gave him a 6'9", which is a huge grade to give a wideout. With my 9th overall player, to remember kind of what he was 6'0", 1'5", so just under 6'2", 198 pounds. He ran 4.5 flat, another elite receiver running with a 5 as the second number, which is something we've always harped on here. It's not necessarily a negative. It means that they can play at that speed, getting in and out of breaks. But the note's tall, lean. He's got excellent hands, toughness, and production. He can play inside. He can play outside. Not huge speed, but big-time yak. He can make you miss, and he will break tackles. Toughness, competitive, instinctive. He's a number one. He's a number one as a number one as a number one. All around, can do everything. Can play above the rim if you want him to. Can win in crowds. Again, I just thought it was interesting going back and looking at that. I mean, how many times have we talked about these wideouts running 4.53, 4.54, 4.57, 4.52? You go through the process. And that's one of the things that we always look back and say, hey, you got to learn from your mistakes. And like a one like that, okay, guys ran faster than him in that draft. I thought he was the best receiver in that draft. Now, obviously, Jefferson has been unbelievable and is the only person making more than him at the position. But the speed, look, put it to the side. This guy played very fast.
He did play fast. And, going back to that draft, the thing about CeeDee Lamb was about his playmaking ability, his ability to make things happen after the catch, the move to the slot since he's been in Dallas, being able to play in the slot and outside, all of those things. He's uniquely talented and a very unique number one because of, I would say, the flexibility that he has. I would say as a route runner, he has improved because I didn't think he was the most polished route runner coming out of the system in Oklahoma. I think he's improved as a route runner, but make no mistake about it. When it comes to that position, playmaking reigns supreme. Guys that can make plays, guys that can produce the explosive plays, the chunk plays, they're the ones that are getting paid. The next guy that is up is Jamar Chase, and I can't wait to see how the Cincinnati Bengals handle him in terms of how do you pay him, how he's compensated, because all of these guys are actually redefining the number one receiver. Even Amon-Ra St. Brown and those guys, because DJ, before we would never pay a slot receiver number one wide receiver money, and now we're seeing that happen. It's just an interesting time in a league that is really pass-centric. The wide receiver position has just exploded when it comes to the market.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the money is outstanding for those guys. Going back to that draft, that 2020 draft, which was stacked with wideouts. Look, I had 6 of them in my top 27. Okay. So this will show you the imperfect science here. And again, I talked about having CeeDee as my top guy. Okay, you can pat yourself on the back for that. But then I go and look at who my second guy was, Jerry Jeudy. I had Jerry Jeudy as the second wideout in that draft class. Now, it hasn't worked out for him. We'll see what happens with his next stop here in Cleveland. Followed by Henry Ruggs. We know, the tragedy that took place there. And just a really sad situation. But then I had Justin Jefferson, Brandon Ayuk, T. Higgins. So, I mean, Lamb, Jefferson, Ayuk, Higgins, that's pretty darn good. But then you get in there somebody in Jerry Jeudy who's hoping to find it on his second home, and then obviously unforeseen, terrible decision made by Henry Ruggs off the field, which cost him more than just his playing career.
Yeah, no, DJ, it's funny when you look back at that class, and we can talk about Jerry Jeudy falling out, but Jerry Jeudy signed a big time contract with the Cleveland Browns. I mean, he got paid. It wasn't like top of the market, but he got a significant chunk of cheese when it comes to it. And I think more than ever, when we go back and we start looking at wide receivers, I think it's going to be really important for us, despite what grades we give on them, to be able to accurately define what we believe they will be in the league in terms of, are they a number one or number two, because they're differences. So, in looking at Jerry Jeudy, did we see him as a number one, or did we see him as a guy that was more of the complement wide receiver? I think for scouts, it's going to be a job now that requires us to drill down a little deeper when we're evaluating guys and to put them in the right buckets. I think at the end of our time when we were working with teams, we started to see that third wide receiver come up where you would kind of put guys as the slot receiver. I think now we're going to have to define the receivers that we evaluate in the draft and talk about, are they outside or inside guys, and then even dub them 1, 2, and 3s in terms of how are they, or how should they be in the pecking order with the teams that they go to.
The other thing is, we use comps a lot. We talk about comps. We did it as scouts. We do it on here. And I know there's a group of people which I've never understood. They just hate comparisons, and it's just the worst thing you could ever do to compare somebody. It's helpful. And I'll give you an example. I'm looking through my notes on that class. So my comp for Justin Jefferson, I said he's a faster Keenan Allen. Like, think about Keenan Allen, with his size and ability to run routes and separate, and then think of just adding a little turbo pack to him. That's kind of what he reminded me of, and it's really what he's looked like. When I look at T. Higgins, ironically, ended up being the same team, but I said I'm hoping he's going to be an AJ Green like receiver, rangy, above the rim, best on the move. He's a smooth, long strider. And that's kind of the type of career that he's had. Man.
That's a great comparison. And I think what people have to understand when we talk about comparisons, like, people think we're talking about comparing them in terms of like what their playing career is how they're going to end up playing throughout their career. But really what you're trying to do is you're trying to paint a picture for decision making in terms of, this guy comes in, when we close our eyes, who is he going to play like? So when you talk about AJ Green, to me, there's a clear picture, because AJ Green came out with Julio Jones, right? And so I think they were the two guys. And so the comparison between the two, Julio Jones was the rugged, physical, overwhelming, overpowering, explosive track athlete playing wide receiver. AJ Green was to take it off the rim, linear, slender, but was just smooth in terms of what he did. T. Higgins, that's a really good comparison because, like, when I close my eyes and I think of T. Higgins being the basketball player and the things that he did at Clemson, yeah, that's a very valid comparison. We want to do those things, and as evaluators, that's what we should do because we are trying to paint the picture so you can envision what the player is going to be at the next level.
Yeah, no, it's helpful. It doesn't always, perfectly match up, but you can see kind of at least what the vision was for those players. So there were still some other interesting wideouts going through that draft. That was a really, really good wide receiver draft that one was there in 2020. As you mentioned briefly there, let's wait for Chase to get paid. Let's see what he's going to end up getting. I mean, if I'm Jamar Chase, I know he's got 2 years left, and that, maybe the Bengals tell him, hey, it's not happening, but he's back practicing. If a deal is going to get done, if I'm Jamar Chase, I want to be the number one dude, man. I'm not settling for anything less than that.
Well, because of the way his contract is, he should want to be the number one dude. Now
they can spread that out and ease some of the burden on the cap.
They can spread that. They can tack that on to the end of his thing to make sure he gets the signing bonus now, but the average looks like it should, because I would say this is in his favor. The market ever goes down. No. It only goes up. And so today's prices are not tomorrow's prices. And so if the top of the market is at 35, he would know that if I wait, I'm going to get to 36 or 37 annually. So if you're going to give me that, like, tack it on to what it, but that's what it's going to be, because next year is really the year that he would be up to get his deal. He has to exhibit a little patience and restraint, and the Bengals have to find a way to meet him halfway. So both of those guys have to be willing to do a deal that puts him where he needs to be at the top of the market, while also giving the Bengals a break for giving him his money probably sooner than they should be giving it to him.
Yeah, no doubt. All right, let's take a quick break. We come back, I'm going to hit you up with some comps in terms of player versus player. Who would you rather have this year at the wide receiver position? We'll jump into that right after this break. All right, Buck, you not know what's coming your way, so you are flying blind on this, and I want to get it's not blink, because we'll have the discussion. It's not a blink scouting operation, but this is the game. I'm going to give you two names, and then I need you to say who you think is going to have the better 2024 season. So we're not necessarily saying, okay, long term, who would you rather have, or who do you think is the more talented player? I'm saying based off everything that they have around them and what they possess, who's going to have the better year. You ready to go?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, I'm starting out. None of these are easy. First one, Tyreek Hill versus Justin Jefferson. Who has the better 2024?
Tyreek Hill, because of the quarterback situation, only in terms of the familiarity between Tua Tagovailoa and Tyreek Hill. They've worked together. They spent 2 years together. They kind of know how they're going to get down. I think it's easier to say that he's going to have more success. Sam Darnold and Justin Jefferson, that'd be a nice connection, but I still think they have to go through some growing pains before we can see it maximized from a production standpoint.
Yeah, I don't think it's just cut and dry easy. I think if you had Kirk Cousins back there again and you had that familiarity, that it would be, I could point towards, Justin Jefferson being that guy. Man, that's difficult. It's a tough one for me, because I do think even with all the other pieces they have in place in Minnesota, that thing, I mean, I saw it, there in person when they were playing the Chargers last year. I mean, the ball just Kevin O'Connell knows how to get him the ball. He can funnel him the ball. And I think with Sam Darnold having never really had a toy like this, it can be tempting. Like, hey, you got some other presents. You can play with some of those other presents. No. That's my favorite one. I'm just playing.
My favorite toy.
That's my favorite
toy. Yeah. I get it.
I'll jump on the other side of that. I'll say Justin Jefferson. Although, look, Tyreek Hill, I mean, he's the most dynamic player in the league, hands down, no question. But there's still a lot of other pieces in place there. Look, they're both going to have monster years. I'll probably splitting hairs here, but I'll say that Sam Darnold, knowing that this is his career kind of on the line this year, and it's all lined up that he's going to have his he'll be his binky. He'll be his little binky, and he's going to invest heavily in targets to Justin Jefferson.
Look, I dig it. I understand it. I also like it, but Kevin O'Connell's playmaking ability is certainly going to get Justin Jefferson a ton of touches. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out, because we are all banking on Sam Darnold being the best version that we've seen in the league. Those numbers that Tyreek Hill puts up annually, though, are ridiculous.
Yeah, they're stupid. It's 1,700. Put it in the bank. All All right, this next one is an interesting one. A couple guys that we've talked about here: CeeDee Lamb versus Jamar Chase. Who has the bigger year?
Oh, CeeDee Lamb versus Jamar Chase. Well, CeeDee Lamb, because I would say he's kind of the only show in town. No disrespect to Brandon Cooks, but I mean, CeeDee Lamb is guaranteed that he is going to get 10 to 12 targets a night. Jamar Chase is a little different because T. Higgins is on the other side. Joe Burrow is a little more, I would say, willing to distribute all over. I think Dak Prescott, Mike McCarthy, and all those guys know what is on the line because all those guys are like improve it years. Well, if I'm Mike McCarthy, I'm going down with my best guys getting the ball. So if we don't win, you're going to say, hey, Jerry, you know what? We didn't get as far as we wanted to in the playoffs, but look at the production of your stars. Dak Prescott had a remarkable year. CeeDee Lamb put up ridiculous numbers. I'm going to go that way. So that's why I'm going to lean towards CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah, you look at Jamar Chase's numbers last year: 100 grabs, 1,216 yards, 7 touchdowns, and that's obviously without Joe Burrow for the majority of that. So you get Joe Burrow back, I think these numbers jump, even though there are other options in that offense. I think just him and Joe being together healthy. You look at his rookie year: 81 for 1,455 yards, 13 touchdowns. I know he's got that ability in him. So I do think that Chase has the best year of his career. But you mentioned it. I mean, that's that billboard only has one name on it in Dallas, and that's CeeDee Lamb. So yeah, I'll say CeeDee ends up having the bigger year there. All right, this is an interesting one: Garrett Wilson versus AJ Brown.
Let's go Garrett Wilson. And let's go Garrett Wilson because I think Garrett Wilson is the dependable, reliable option in the Jets passing game. Mike Williams is the X factor. And I think with Aaron Rodgers finds comfort in the guy that he's worked with the most in practices and those things. And when you go back and you look at the Aaron Rodgers work with Devontae Adams and other number ones that he's had, the numbers have been ridiculous. So let's go with Garrett Wilson in that situation.
Yeah, I don't really have much to add there. I love the group, the collection of players they have in Philadelphia, but I think Garrett Wilson is clearly he's going to be A-Rod's guy, so I'll go with Garrett Wilson on that one. All right, let's go a couple more here. I'm going to give you some kind of obscure ones here. Drake London versus DK Metcalf. Who has a better year?
DK Metcalf. Ryan Grubb's offense. I think they unlock the vertical passing game like we saw with UW. UW had 3 receivers, and they all ate. They all were fed. You're thinking about McMillan, Polk, Adunze. They all got it. I expect to see the same version. And Geno Smith is underrated in terms of what he should be able to do in this offense. This offense is a perfect fit for how he likes to push the ball down the field. I think DK Metcalf reemerges as one of those premier playmakers on the outside.
Yeah, I'll go to the other side of it. Last year, Drake London, I'm pulling up his numbers here: 69 grabs, 905 yards. He only had 2 touchdowns. This is someone who is capable of so much more. I think he's got a lot more in his body than what we've seen. And I think finally having stability at the quarterback position, I think you see his numbers jump way, way up. And I think the touchdowns too. DK, I'll kind of split hairs here. I'll say DK might get you more yards. I'm going to say Drake London that he's going to have a big touchdown year. So I'm going to say Drake London is, and again, I think maybe just somebody's more a little bit on the climb. I'm not saying DK's on the descent, but I'm saying DK's kind of stabilized, steady, where I think Drake is going to end up, he's going to end up climbing the ladder a little bit. A couple more left here. Jalen Waddle versus DJ Moore. 2 guys that are in offenses with a lot of weapons.
Man, let's go DJ Moore. And I like Jalen Waddle as the number 2 in Miami. I think DJ Moore is the number 1, though, in Chicago. Mm-hmm. Even though Keenan Allen comes over and Rome is there, I think the pecking order is about DJ Moore first. So I look for Caleb Williams to start the mission, giving the ball to DJ Moore and those other guys fill in. So I would expect DJ Moore's numbers to be around that 1,250 to 1,300 number, as opposed to Jalen Waddle's numbers are going to be there. I just think DJ Moore is probably going to get more targets, more opportunities.
Yeah, that's fair. I'll take the other side of it and just say Jalen Waddle, just because I think they hit the ground running. I think the Bears, this might take a little bit just to kind of get into rhythm and figure out how to best use everybody, how to utilize Caleb. There's just a lot of newness there in Chicago. So I think there maybe is a little adjustment period there. I can't wait to watch them. I think they're going to be exciting to watch. But I'm going to say that Miami, just they hit the ground running because of the familiarity that they have, and that allows Waddle to kind of get out. And look, every game plan, even though people haven't been able to do it, it always starts with Tyreek Hill. Jalen Waddle is going to get a lot of favorable matchups. So I'll lean that way.
No, it makes sense. It makes sense to kind of take that approach and to kind of do it that way. We know in Mike McDaniel's offense, there can be plenty of opportunities for those guys on the outside to touch it because Tua Tagovailoa is an RPO specialist, and it kind of works with his skill set.
Yep. This last one is kind of a weird one. I'll come out with that because you wouldn't expect these names to kind of be together. But last year, and I'll give you the numbers. Last year, Terry McLaurin had 79 catches for 1,002 yards and 4 touchdowns. I'm going to go Terry McLaurin or someone who as a rookie flashed big time last year before he got hurt, Tank Dell, who has a better year.
McLaurin.
Really?
I'm such a huge believer in Jaden Daniels. I think the numbers are going to be through the roof for him. He is. Look, I know most people are leaning towards Caleb Williams as the offensive rookie of the year. I think Jaden Daniels put some numbers that makes it really, really hard for the voters to give it unanimously to Caleb Williams. So let's go. Jaden Daniels being able to find Scary Terry on the outside, putting up stupid numbers.
All right. That's a fair assessment. Last year, Buck, in 11 games, Tank Dell had 47 catches, 709 yards, and 7 touchdowns. I think personally, just watching them when he was playing last year, even knowing what Nico Collins is, and obviously we know they bring on Stephon Diggs. I think he's the toughest cover on that team, Tank Dell, when he's out there and healthy. 7 touchdowns in 11 games last year. Like he could very easily with CJ Stroud and then knowing the other weapons that they have there. Now he's probably not going to catch 100 balls, but I could see him having an 80 catch year and catching like 13 touchdowns. Like that would not shock me at all. But Tank Dell's got to get out there. He's the little guy. He's got to stay healthy. But I think he could have a monster year. I'm just saying when you watch those games when he was out there on the field last year, it was like, holy crap, nobody can cover this dude.
Look, it does look different, but they got another mouth to feed, and that mouth is very vocal. He's very vocal. Stephon Diggs is very vocal. All those balls can't go to Nico Collins and Tank Dell without Stephon saying, hey, man, don't forget about me. I'm making $20 million, not just to run routes.
I'll close this little mini pod with this last quote, which is, I don't remember who it's attributed to, but my favorite receiver is the one who's open. That's all that CJ Stroud has to say on that one. And I'm telling you, Tank Dell is going to get more separation than any receiver they have. No offense to those guys. Those are 2 great players. But that dude, he can create separation like a son of a gun now.
Oh, he absolutely is now. He's a jitterbug in space now. He finds a way to kind of create space and wiggle. He's a handful.
Yeah, I think there's a special category of receiver I call sound effect receivers when you're watching them. You're like, that's Tank Dell for me. All right, that's going to do it for us today. We've got another pod coming your way, and man, I'm so pumped for next week to get here because we'll have the rookie draft back. Red will join us for those. We've got previews coming your way. We'll have college football to recap. We will preview a little bit of this weekend in college football in the next episode. So just a fun time all the way around. Appreciate you guys hanging with us. See you next time right here on Move the Sticks.